There once was a man named Gold Roger who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
Our perspective is yours for the taking, but you'll have to join us first. We left everything we debated at the Yonkō Table.
Ever since, pirates from all over the world set sail for the Grand Line, searching for the Yonkō Table, the table that will make their dreams come true. Yo! Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Yonkō Table. I'm your Yonkō host, DrJaceAttorney, and we have a brand spanking new episode as we dive deep into the hit new Marvel movie back in theaters, Black Widow. That's right, everyone. So if you saw it on Disney Plus, all right, it's fine. But going to the theaters, it was a return to form for Marvel, and it was definitely something new to appreciate with a year of absence in 2020. But before we go straight into the movie, we have some guests of honor here to join us in this deep dive for Black Widow. First up, we have returning Supernova, GrandMasterHoop, Grandmaster. Why is your background still Loki themed? It should be Black Widow themed.
Hold on, you call me a supernova.
Supernova.
You bastard.
I said fella. Oh my.
You bastard.
Oh no.
You're just
I'm
a little
sorry.
too eager today.
We're breaking it to you live on camera.
Fine, I'm
I
demoted.
apologize. No.
I'm demoted.
Return. No, never demoted. Never demotion. Always Yonkō. Always fellow Yonkō.
Okay.
Grandmaster
All right.
Hoop.
You're saying, why do I still have this background? Oh, you're
Wow.
right. I should change
It's
it.
silly. It is
You're
silly.
absolutely correct.
That's why we demoted.
I will change it to something more appropriate for today's talk, but I'm glad to be here, even if you don't respect my status anymore. That's
Not
okay.
true.
That's okay. I'm here. Like you said, we're here to talk about Black Widow. I'm excited to talk about Black Widow because, you know, say what you want about the film. I think it represents something much larger as a whole. As you said, a year of no Marvel, and we're back to form, and it's nice to be back. So
Feels good.
It does
good.
feel good. It does
Feels
feel
right.
good. It does feel right. And I don't have anything against anyone who watched it on Disney Plus, but I felt we owed our girl, Nat or ScarJo, to see it in theaters. I think we owed her that much. So I had to do it for her. Happy to be here, Dr. Jace. Happy to be here today.
That's good. Next up, we have returning Supernova. I got that one right. Darce, how have you been, man?
I'm good. Happy to be here. I'm glad that I was able to watch Black Widow in theaters. It was great seeing a Marvel movie again. You know, when they have their Marvel logo on there, it's like, so you just feel at home. So it was great.
Feel at
I loved it.
home. I like that. It does have a very homely feeling to it. That's true. And last but not least, returning Supernova, DoctaReeka. DoctaReeka, how have you been?
I'm good. I'm also glad to have seen this in theaters, in a new city too. So yeah, I'm excited to deep dive. I won't take up any time beyond that.
All right, let's get straight into it. As we've alluded to with Black Widow, this is a return to form for Marvel with an entire year of absence. Those of you that don't know, Black Widow was supposed to debut last year, I believe in March of 2020, right? March of 2020 or May. It was like, right, it was early to mid
2020.
Yeah.
We were supposed to get it during pandemic.
Yes.
I think it was May 2020 because they
May.
usually have their Marvel movies in May.
I think it was May, and then they even pushed it back to November, and then it didn't.
And then May again. And then
May again.
And then and there was always that fear that it was just gonna stay in theaters, because that was during the time where like a lot of movies, they were making that straight transition to streaming services. So on release, instead of releasing in theaters, it's just gonna, be on HBO Max or Disney Plus or just, whatever your subscription is. But this one, they released it on both. I'm really surprised. I thought Marvel was just gonna do the whole exclusive theater route because they want to hit those blockbuster numbers that they're always so used to seeing with any Marvel movie. So do we have even box office numbers on Black Widow?
It's currently domestically, I believe it's sitting at the top of biggest domestic open with about 80 mil. And I think it surpassed, I believe it was Rise of Skywalker that it surpassed.
Okay. That's actually really good. I'm surprised. I was not expecting that.
Oh, me neither. Especially not during, this post-pandemic / still in a pandemic atmosphere. Yes, it beat Rise of Skywalker. However, it's still, it's doing fine. It's gonna obviously break. Usually, Marvel films break within that opening day, which is fine.
Do. Right.
It's fine. It's fine. I mean, the last Marvel film we had was Far From Home, and before that, Endgame. So,
right. That was 2019.
Yeah, that was both 2019. So it's sitting at 159 mil right now, and there's no doubt in my mind it won't surpass that, no problem. And then the Disney Plus numbers are actually really good too. I think it raked in about 60 mil on Disney Plus. That's a lot.
60 mil like views, or
$60 million, meaning
okay.
It's $30 for that premiere access.
Right.
I don't want to do the math right now.
Go ahead, do it.
How much? What is it?
You teach the future of these kids.
200,000 people paid $30 to go watch that on Disney Plus, and I think it's a smart move to capitalize on that demographic, because our theater was not filled when we saw it.
Wait, did you say 60 million or 6 million?
60.
Oh, 60.
Wouldn't that be 2 million?
No, you're right. You had it. 30 times.
We are not. We are not.
6 people paid $30 and got 60 million.
Yeah, 600. You said, forget it. We sound dumb. The point is, I think it's smart to capitalize on that audience, because our theater was definitely not filled watching this movie. So,
it's smart. It was pretty filled in comparison to some other movies that I've seen post-COVID. So it's good to see that people are starting to come out of their shells again.
Yes, definitely. But in past, we used to, it was a scramble to get a ticket to a Marvel premiere.
For sure.
The night before.
Yeah. Especially if there were no assigned seatings. You would need to get there 30 minutes to an hour early to get a good seat that you want. Otherwise, you're sitting 6 feet in front of the screen, and I ain't doing that.
I'm not doing that either. No.
Yep. Usually I watch a Marvel movie more than once. Do you guys feel like you'd watch this again in theaters?
Well, see, now there's the big debate for me. I might just drop 30 to watch it on Disney Plus.
30 to watch it on Disney Plus
from the comforts of my home,
instead of paying $10 to go to the theaters and watch it.
Oh, I didn't pay $10. That thing was $15. Inflation rates.
Of course.
I mean, if I buy it now, everybody who has my account gets to watch it. My family gets to watch it again. I get to watch it as many times.
Fine.
Or I could just wait, until it's up on Disney Plus, which is another 2 months or so. But I want to watch it again, because I feel like when we really break down this movie, I feel like I'm really critical of this movie. So I want to watch it again, to be fair. And I feel bad.
I want to watch it again, but in IMAX. I love watching it in loud noises, big screens, comfortable chairs. For some reason, the theater that we sat in, those chairs were not comfortable.
It wasn't that great of a theater to be done. Regal.
Oh no!
Don't shout them out. They might be listening.
Oh,
they might be listening. Their executives might be, writing off on.
That's a call for them to step up.
Yeah, because my AMC seats were very comfortable.
Ooh, maybe I'll make a chance.
And I can go see it again because I also have the A-list, so I'm gonna plug that too.
I don't know, is that a VIP membership?
So there are 3 different tiers. The tier I have is the bottom tier. So you pay $20 a month. You get 3 movies a week, any format too. So 3D, IMAX, recliner chairs, non-recliner chairs.
I might have to
Any
look into that.
And you can see it like multiple times.
Definitely.
Like if I want to just see Black Widow over and over and over again, I can. Like I saw Endgame 3 times in theaters just with my A-list.
Same, but I spent money.
Yeah, I
did
spent the
not.
money too. I spent the
I just pay a flat fee once a month. So I'm a plug back because I've had it since July 2018 and it's been
stellar. A+.
It has.
All right.
shout out to AMC.
So we went a whole. I was about to say we went a whole 2020 without any Marvel movies. This was like a nice little comeback.
It was. And I guess that was what I was going to segue into. You know, do we feel that Black Widow was, I guess, worth the extra year waiting because it was supposed to come out last year in May? Do we think that this was, aside from it being a return to form for Marvel, which it was, because we got to go to theaters, we got to enjoy a movie, like the typical Marvel fashion. But in terms of the movie on its own, do we think it was worth the wait? Like, was it really good? Does it meet the typical Marvel formula that we're kind of used to? I'm going to throw that on the table because I see some people itching to say something.
It was 5 years too late. I think we needed this Black Widow movie a long time ago. I don't think it was necessarily a great idea for them to throw it out post Endgame. But that's just my thought. You know, I think it was a good movie. I think it would have had a little bit more weight to it prior to Endgame.
That is also my opinion.
A little too late.
Yeah, like, and there's a lot I really like about the movie, which I'm sure we'll get to, but I walked out feeling like, man, if I would have known all of this, like how much being an Avenger meant to her before Endgame, like, I mean, my heart was already shattering in the theater because, you know, I was an emotional wreck for 3 hours during Endgame. But the weight of knowing what we know now, if we would have known that before, I felt like it certainly would have hit even harder and added more to her character. And I'm appreciative that we did get it, but I agree with Darce. I think a couple years ago.
I am on the same boat. I kind of think, I don't think they really took a page from them, but it kind of felt like a DC kind of thing to do with what DC's doing with their movies, where they introduce the characters first, right? And then at some point in the future, they decide, okay, we kind of introduced the character in this collab with all these bunch of other people, and then we'll do an origin story somewhere down the line. Because this is the first Marvel movie where they kind of went back to tell an old story after the character was already introduced. We're usually used to character gets introduced, and then, you know, from there we go into the crossovers, the collabs, the cameos, all that stuff. This one, ScarJo was literally in cameos her entire MCU career, because I mean, she debuted in Iron Man 2, right? The best Iron Man, as GrandMasterHoop loves to call it.
I can't stand you.
And from there, I mean, she was in Avengers,
every Cap movie, Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier, the GOAT.
Thank you, the GOAT. Yes. And see, I would even go as far as to say, y'all said 5 years. I'll raise you and say 7 years or so. You know, like I don't know. It would have been. I feel like this movie, like, or just the idea. Avengers? No. Like, so 7 years is what?
2000.
That's 2014.
That's 2014. Yeah.
2014, right? I'm just saying, like, you know, this movie serves as a prelude to Infinity War. Did we need a build up to Infinity War? Did we need a build up to Infinity War? That's why, you know, with this film, you kind of push yourself against the wall and say, if you're going to set it at this point in time, you have to get to this point, right? And with that said, as her first outing in a solo movie, I think it would have been better just to have a standalone, solid movie about Black Widow versus here's a movie where she has to play to what her character was in Avengers, you know? And that's why I say, let's push it back even further and not have that, that tight scope they have to work in. So yeah, I enjoyed the movie for sure. It's just, yeah, I feel we should have got it before, and there were some
before Endgame, like that's
before Endgame,
okay.
Before Infinity War,
Yeah,
and there was just
after Civil War.
Yeah, there was just some execution problems I felt that they lacked, and they.
I think this would have been a good like TV show starter for Marvel.
I said that too. I said that too.
If we did 6 hours of this, or 6 episodes of Black Widow's journey, maybe dive deeper into the Black Widows, like kind of look at the Taskmaster in a different way. Like, I don't know, I feel like if they would have expanded upon this in like a TV format before Infinity War, I think that would have been a great idea. But I think they were kind of just backtracking and kind of just saying, you know what, ScarJo, she needs to get paid. Let's get her a movie. Let's get her $1 billion, and then we'll be good.
Well, that's exactly what it was, because when you really,
it was long overdue.
Well, it was overdue, but when when you compare it to the other series, right? ScarJo's like top billing. I'm sure she made more than Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan. I'm sure she made more than Elizabeth Olsen and probably Tom. Yeah, probably Tom. So they're retroactively making up for the mistake of never giving her own film. But in doing so, you're right though, Darce, because you look at series now and what you can do with the series and the confinement and how you're not confined. This story, I think, would have been great if it were a series. I really think. I just think they kind of crammed too much in here in that 2 hour and 12-minute run time span, and it wasn't enough. It was for me, it wasn't enough.
Well, I mean, I guess for me too, I think it needs to be said the movie was enjoyable. I can never take that away from the movie. Like, I was watching it, I was entertained. I was laughing. I was enjoying mildly the fight scenes. And I kind of like the story that they told. It kind of expanded a little bit on Natasha's backstory. And it's one of those things where it was also interesting where they went back to the past to tell her backstory without going all the way back to the past, right? Like instead of going back to when she became a Black Widow, they told a present storyline, which is still in the past, but it's after Infinity War, and it's basically explaining her origins all the way in the past. What led her to become a Black Widow, what family she had before she became a Black Widow, all that stuff. At the same time, do we think this was maybe a proper send-off for Natasha? Like, are we okay after seeing this movie? We don't need any more Black Widow. We're set. Maybe occasional cameos.
I think that maybe not necessarily send off, but maybe a launching point for Florence Pugh. In the comic books, she's the second Black Widow. So I think that this was a good kind of launching point. By the way, I loved their chemistry. The two of them together were really funny. I loved it. But I think this was mainly kind of more of that, hey, this is one of your favorite characters. Yes, she's gone, but look, we have someone who's equally as awesome that's going to be joining the family soon. So I think that's mainly what it is. For me, though, I think this movie, like, I had different expectations of the storyline, and I'm not sure if they met reality. I mean, not in a bad way, but I thought that I would see more Hawkeye in this, and I thought that I would see more of the Budapest story.
Yes.
But I kind of wanted to see some more unanswered questions that Marvel kept on like alluding to. But this was still a pretty great story. I liked it all, but yeah.
It felt like almost a passing of the torch, similar to what Darce was explaining. And I think they're doing that a lot by introducing potential new characters, whether through the series that we've had so far, or through the movies, or what's to come. So you already mentioned Hawkeye, Kate Bishop is coming, Riri is coming with Ironheart. So we're seeing a lot of like the next gen. So this kind of felt like a passing of the torch to Florence Pugh to take over some of what the Black Widow role provides for the Avengers, for the MCU as a whole. And I'm sure we'll talk about the themes, but I definitely did. It felt like almost two different movies to me. Like there was this very serious, like 30 minutes. It was very intriguing, related to kind of the human trafficking and how they're creating this whole underground world and training all of these girls. And then you get like the expectations of Marvel. So just shit blowing up, things falling from the sky, these big action sequences. And I almost really wanted them to lean more into that, like to the first half more so than the second half. Like you could blow some stuff up, but like, I think at some point I was like, man, like more action, like these characters are great. Like you just set up and introduced all these really interesting and intriguing and humorous, but also really sad people. And we're just kind of really focused on blowing a lot of things up. And so I think there was maybe some tonal and thematic choices that I wish were a little bit different as I was watching the film. And I'm wondering if y'all have already brought up like the series potential. And I'm wondering if it would have looked different if you had 6 hours and like things blowing up and fight sequences could have been spread out a little bit more, where we would have really been able to sit with the characters a little bit more. Because I don't know about y'all, but I really enjoyed the side characters and who they introduced as far as her family and things like that. So
I think the side characters were great. They were a great addition. And that's the thing. I'm looking at this as a potential for the future. I'm like, man, will we see Red Guardian again? Will we see Melina again?
I feel like we have to.
Well, we know we're gonna see Yelena.
Right, at the very least, yeah.
Well, she's confirmed too for the Hawkeye show. Whether I don't know for the whole span, but she's on the cast list. But as far as like a send off, when I think about it, Endgame, they did her dirty. No funeral, no gravestone. Just a flat out little mention, Hulk throwing the thing, and that was it. And it was so frustrating to watch. And then she gets like one little mention at the end of the film. I can't even tell you who was mentioning her at the end of the film. So that's another sad part. And so with this movie, the really only expectation I really came in with was like, I need a proper swan song. I need we gotta walk away with this movie with like just this great understanding of who Natasha is, and this warranted feeling of why in Endgame was she so like adamant about getting everybody back, because everybody else was kind of just chilling. She's the only one searching for the way. And I'll tell you, at the end of this film, I feel they just kind of kept shoveling the family stuff at you. And
kind of reminiscent of another movie.
Just kind of, which movie? Oh, I don't got Avengers. I got family. Terrible. But it just felt like they were force feeding you her idealism of our ideals of family to make Endgame make sense. And in some parts it worked, and in other parts it was just like, we get it. Okay, we get it. Where's Taskmaster? Come on.
Oh my God, Taskmaster.
Do you not like this version of Taskmaster?
I like the idea that they tried something new with Taskmaster, just because Taskmaster, I don't know that much about Taskmaster, but I have seen him in, some of the comics and some of the video games and whatnot. And his identity or his origins is nothing to write home about in that source material. But so going in, I was like, I kind of hope they do something different with this version in Black Widow. And they certainly did something different. And I don't know, like it just didn't hit. I felt like it was going to be one of those moments where it was like, aha, gotcha. It wasn't that one. Remember that girl in the very beginning where Natasha was so strung up on? Yeah, that's the identity reveal for Taskmaster. I don't know. I see your point.
I see your point.
I don't know. I kind of liked the hidden theme that was with it, though. The fact that like during the whole movie, Natasha's literally battling her haunted past, her red ledger. Come to find out that her haunted past, like, physically is battling her as the Taskmaster. So I thought that that was like a really cool way that like she was fighting someone who she thought that she killed like horrendously, but like it ended up, I don't know if it made her feel worse that her dad turned her into, you know, the Taskmaster, or if it was just one of those things where like she kind of felt a little bit better that she didn't kill someone, but you know, she can kind of pass the blame to her dad on that one. But I don't know, I thought this was a really interesting kind of version of Taskmaster. It stings because I don't know if we're going to see Taskmaster again in the MCU. I'm not even sure what really happened. But
they just walked away. That's all.
Yeah,
she's alive.
Yeah, she's alive.
She is, okay.
Yeah.
I thought I cannot remember for the life of me. But I think that was it. You know, like we get to see Taskmaster fight her as like a kind of like a haunted past, like I said, and then I don't know. I thought it was interesting. DrRaceAttorney, what'd you think?
I thought it was interesting. I think the whole theme of free will, choice, what that means to have that taken away. I will say, one, as a person in general, but specifically as a woman, like hit the nail on the head, because that is probably what I fear the most, is this idea that I don't have autonomy, that I don't have choice over my own decisions and what I want in my life. So I was like, oh yeah, like this completely makes sense. I think it kind of harkened even back to Jessica Jones. There was a lot of like how I felt about the first season of that with autonomy and choice and what it means to not have that. It really affected me when I watched that first season. So when they introduced it in this movie, I was like, yeah, that's the thing that certainly pushes a lot of buttons for me. So I did like that part as far as the Taskmaster being kind of lumped into that. I don't know if maybe again, it's just like the runtime, they only had so much time to really try to connect the dots as far as like Budapest or Pesh, whichever one we're going with, about that storyline and who she was and why that should be impactful when she takes the helmet off. But I feel very mixed about it, because I liked the decision because it was something different, but I also felt like we didn't get enough of Taskmaster, or, you know, it's a Marvel thing where you see one thing in the trailers, but then it's something completely different when you have the full realized movie. So I thought we were going to get more than we did with the Taskmaster, and I don't know if it's a Marvel villain problem again, kind of creeping up or what, but I felt kind of mixed about it. Like I liked the decision, but also the execution, there we go, is maybe where I'm a little tripped up.
I think that's the same ground that I'm on too. Like I'm not against them using that character as the Taskmaster. I just feel like kind of what we were saying before. I think this needed like probably a TV show just to iron out more of those details, because, you know, you start dropping little clues early on about this character that Natasha killed early on in her career as a Black Widow. And then as you build up throughout the season, throughout the series, then you start piecing the clues together. You start theorizing, oh, I think it's this person, I think it's this character. And then by the end of the episode or the season or the movie, bam, right there, it's this character. And then I think at that point, if they had done something like that, I would have been sold, because Taskmaster, I think even GrandMasterHoop was telling this to me in the movie theater. Like, he's really nothing in terms of like his identity. Like, knowing who he is in the source material is really nothing to write home about. You're not gonna see Taskmaster and think, I don't even know what's his name in the comics. Is it?
Oh, his real name?
Or just his identity? Like, well, I mean, you know what? No,
he's supposed to be like a nameless mercenary.
Well, he was. So
yeah.
there's some incarnations where he's a former SHIELD agent, and he's just kind of, he gets fired or something, and he's kind of angry. But his identity really doesn't give credit to his name, or does it build upon his character so much. So I do like what they did too with Taskmaster. And as to both your points, as far as, attaching it to her past, and this whole thing with free will, because thematically speaking, that mission was her mission to break away from the Black Widows in the Red Room. That was supposed to kill Dreykov. What kind of bomb doesn't kill two people? I won't get into the complexities of that, but I thought they both should have died.
That's where you suspend your disbelief with Marvel movies?
No, I have a couple other disbeliefs. However, though, thematically speaking, she broke free in that moment, and in doing so, placed somebody else under that control, that power control, and she didn't know. And again, I think this was probably ScarJo's best little acting bit in the whole film. She's like, I'm sorry. She wanted to tell her I'm sorry, and then she's over
that
here.
Was solid.
She's like, she can't hear me. She can't hear me, and so I thought that was good. It was a good update to the character of Taskmaster to give them that kind of connectivity to the main character. But I will say this is that, is it such a bad thing to just have this mercenary who they hire and they're like, yo, go take out Black Widow, go take out her sister, go take them all out while copying the moves of everybody? How badass would that have been? Kind of like, and I compared Taskmaster to the Winter Soldier in his first appearance. He was just a droneless badass, and it was so cool, Now, of course, his identity was way more important to that character. But just in that mindless drone first hour of the movie, he was so cool, And Taskmaster to me was really cool in the beginning. And not that she lost points, but it was just cool. Hit the claws, and did y'all see Bucky? She did Bucky's knife moves.
I did.
Yeah, man.
I did.
That was creative.
Yeah. I was standing in the theater because y'all know I love Bucky, so
yes,
it was cool. She was cool.
Yes, and again, I felt we could talk about the action and the set pieces all we want, but I felt we didn't get enough Taskmaster doing the Taskmaster thing,
Well, hopefully we'll get more of Taskmaster in the next upcoming Marvel movies or TV shows.
But at this point, I guess Taskmaster is either just a good guy or can teeter-totter. She's got a free will. She can do whatever she wants.
Free will. Maybe she can choose.
She can do whatever she wants.
She chooses violence.
Yes, there you go. I like I like it. I wanted more. I want more.
Did you guys ever see this TV show called Heroes?
Yes.
I've seen parts.
There was one character.
The black girl, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot her name, but
I forgot her name too.
She was a mimic. She would just watch things and then she could easily do them. I thought it was pretty cool. I wish they explained more of Taskmaster's power in that sense of being a mimic and being able to just copy and move on the spot, and even in combat, you don't have to watch a movie or whatever. During your combat, you can already project what your opponent is going to do based off of what they're doing right now. But it was a little bit harder to get into that, like we said, because we only had 2 hours to get a whole plotted.
Marvel, do a show, man. This could have been a show. It would have been so much better. Well, since it was a movie, right? In terms of female-led Marvel movies, we only have 2. We have Captain Marvel and we have Black Widow. How do you guys think this squared up to Captain Marvel? Yeah, go ahead, Darce.
First, we don't necessarily need to pin the 2 female movies against each other because ladies should not be having to fight to compete. But I would have to say I did like Black Widow a little bit more. Just throwing that out there.
I liked it more too. I have Captain Marvel a little bit lower on my Marvel tier list, and I think Black Widow, at the very least, regardless of the problems I had with it, I think it was a little bit better than Captain Marvel for sure.
I'm gonna say my thoughts real quick before DoctaReeka goes in. I think Black Widow has more enjoyable characters. I think Captain Marvel was a better structured, plotted film. Like, I don't look at Captain Marvel and I say this should have been a series. I think it was just from beginning to end, it made sense. There was just a lot of parts of Black Widow where I was like, you're losing me. You're losing me. It didn't flow as nicely.
Yeah, I think they were both kind of like not organically placed or strategically placed on like the timeline of movie releases, in my opinion.
Well, the timeline, and I just there were some directing choices where I'm like, I don't know. Like the scene where they're sitting down getting a beer. I mean, it was cool, but like, I don't know. Like some of it has a little couple of slow parts. I don't know. But I think you could enjoy both films, one more or the other. I think Captain Marvel was better put together.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
The moment we've all been waiting for.
So after I got out of the theater, I was thinking about this as far as like where would I put it in my overall 24 movie ranking. And I have it right in the middle. It's literally, I think, number 12. And it's number 13 is Captain Marvel. So I liked Black Widow like a little bit more. And I think part of it is because there was familiarity with Natasha. I really liked the side characters in this one, more so than the ones in Captain Marvel, maybe because they didn't get as much time to be kind of fully realized or show their personalities as I felt like it was in Black Widow. But I think both of them did suffer from some slight issues. I think Captain Marvel was very much like the Marvel formula, which isn't a problem because they haven't really made like a terrible movie. There have been some subpar.
Some misses.
But, you know, their misses are still better than
Right.
some other choices by some other companies. But I felt like Captain Marvel really stuck with like, here's the formula, we know that it works. Here's what we need to do to achieve that. And it was a great, solid introduction for her. And I felt like Black Widow took more risk as far as like, okay, let's do something a little different. I think you mentioned at the very start that this is very like retroactive. Like we're going back to tell a story and this is set in a different year. It's not set currently. And we're trying to fill in the missing holes. And I like risk taking. I'm fine with that in terms of like any series, whether it's Marvel, but could be DC, could be James Bond, could be Star Wars. Like I'm all about properties just trying to think outside of the box because I think it makes for more artistic, like fun as just a fan. But yeah, I think overall, both movies could have and deserved just a little bit more than I think both of them were given. I'm glad that Captain Marvel was a success and seemingly Black Widow is doing the same even amongst a pandemic. But I think we could add a little bit more for both of them to really push it over the top.
Can I raise you and say that this film also kind of followed a little formulaic?
No, I would agree. I think especially with like the second half, and I think I talked about this, like when they were introducing, we see like back in the 90s and we see them as children, and I was like, oh, we're getting something a little different. And we go along this theme of like human trafficking and something that's very serious. I was like, okay, this is they're thinking a little bit outside of the box. We're getting a little bit more realistic in some ways, which I think even the Marvel series kind of bring up some of that. And then it started to become a lot more formulaic by the end. So I was like, oh, like shit's falling from the sky and blowing up, which I already said. Like that's very Marvel-esque. But I felt like Captain Marvel from the start to the end was, here is the formula.
Oh, no doubt. No.
I think Black Widow said, oh, here's a different path, and said, oh, but we forgot this is a Marvel movie, so we need to get it back on track, which I don't think is a problem as far as the mainstream audiences. I think people can go into this movie and say, hey, that was fun. We loved the action. Things blew up. And I think for me, 24 movies later, I want the risk. I want something a little different. So I was much more intrigued by that slight difference and maybe, you know, yeah.
It gives it its own flair.
Yeah.
And it was like more of like a spy movie, you know, kind of like James Bond or Mission Impossible type.
See, you say spy movie, and that leads me to my next point. I drew a lot of comparison with this film and Winter Soldier. That was the main film I kept drawing this comparison between. both films feature the main protagonist on the run, being hunted down, specifically by, this like expert mercenary type character. And then, they do their own little recruitment process of who can they trust and who can they bring on board to help them out. And then, both of them feature this giant ending set piece featuring a giant floating thing falling from the sky.
The fortress,
yeah.
Yes, of
yeah.
course.
And they both had excellent car chase scenes. I just kept drawing the comparison, and that's where I came to. It seems like they've done it before, and I guess that was another expectation of mine. Every time I watch a Marvel film, I'm like, how is this one going to be different from all the others? And I thought they slumped a little bit here. I feel they should have really went in on the espionage spy bit, and
agreed.
I just feel they didn't hit it. They didn't hit it.
I feel like they tried to, for sure.
They tried. They tried, especially in the beginning with the flashback. Yeah, definitely.
But how was it that there was this huge helicarrier up in the air for only like a handful of people to be in it when it crashed? This made no sense. There was a lot of things that
they all escaped. You didn't see them
in one helicarrier thing. Mm-mm.
Yeah, it was the entire army.
I think if GrandMasterHoop made the comparison with Winter Soldier is hands down my favorite Marvel movie. I've said that multiple times. But I think what was more successful in that film compared to this one is that they stuck with, like, yes, there was the big thing at the end, but there was also emotional weight to that because of the Bucky aspect of that. But also they leaned into this political espionage situation as far as like, oh, this big figurehead that we thought we could trust, we actually can't trust. And, there were little gadgets and things that we didn't expect. And like you said, we'd seen that in Winter Soldier, and now we're seeing a little bit of it again, and maybe the execution wasn't quite in the same manner. I felt like Winter Soldier was smoother in how they introduced a lot of the elements, and I wish we would have seen a little bit more of that in Black Widow.
Hands down.
Was she in Winter Soldier?
She was in Winter Soldier.
Okay. So I guess that's my next question. Do we think this movie was her best outing out of all the movies that she's been in? Because she's been in a lot. She's been in cameos. She's been in the crossovers. This is her solo movie.
This is number 8. This is number 8 for her.
Is it 8? Okay.
8.
Did you guys watch the Legends before you saw?
No, I haven't watched that series. I want to.
So when I saw the Legends, I'm like, oh man, like they did a beautiful job of highlighting everything that she did, and like it was so well put together, more than any of the other ones. But I don't know, like I loved every aspect that she was doing in this one. I think though, Winter Soldier, I kind of liked her performance in Winter Soldier a little bit more because it was still more mysterious, but then like you have that turning point where she's like, you just saved my life, but if the time came to it where you would trust me to save your life, would you do it? And he's like, after today, yeah. And so like that was more, I got more character out of Black Widow from that movie than I kind of did in this one. We already knew a lot of these aspects. We already knew that she didn't really have a family. We already knew that like the Avengers were her main family, and that she had a Red Ledger and she had a dark past and all that stuff. So I think Winter Soldier gave her a little bit more of like the meat on the bones type, like a little bit more character development for Black Widow than this movie did. This movie just like kind of highlighted some of the stuff that we already knew.
I would like to say she doesn't have a single bad outing for sure. Right. I don't think there's any performance where I say, oh, yeah, that was her worst appearance in the MCU. However, gosh, I probably have to agree with Darce on this. Just when you can compare what the character's doing and where she's at as a character, in Winter Soldier, by the end of that movie, the Alexander Pierce is like, you expose those files, your files are exposed too. All your, all the red on your ledger. And she's gonna be like, and he's like, are you sure you want that? And she's like, are you sure you want yours? like, with a nice little retort. But yeah, there was a sense of like mystery and, kind of just like she was a spy in that film. And in Avengers and Iron Man 2, she was really just taking orders, and, stepping up when Hawkeye got taken under. And, I mean, you can sit here and just go down the line of her portrayals, but I don't know. Yeah, I think I had the most fun watching her in Winter Soldier. I will say in this film, we definitely got that really emotional kind of, she's like, you weren't really my family. You weren't my real parents. And then, Yelena hits her home with, it was real to me. I didn't even know, and
that hurt a little bit.
Yeah,
that was good. That was really good. I really enjoyed that aspect. And even in Endgame, I felt her when she was really the only one out here with an ounce of hope. I really felt that. It's just like in Endgame, it didn't feel as warranted because we needed this film to make that really hit home. So I would say, yeah, I had the most fun watching her in Winter Soldier.
I'm biased, but I agree. I think the only thing I'll add is her introduction in the Avengers is iconic. As far as her first scene, hands down. Like if we're gonna go scene by scene as far as Black Widow scenes, it's in the top.
Oh yeah.
So good.
It's she's tied up in the chair.
Oh, in the Avengers.
Wilson calls her. And she's like, this fool is telling me everything.
Iconic.
Yes.
But I would agree that, and again, biased, but it's also true, at least so far what we've shared. But I think my favorite outing for her was in Winter Soldier. But there was a lot I did appreciate in this film as well. Yeah, I'll keep it there.
Fair enough. I mean, I think what this film did well, which kind of elevated ScarJo's performance was, and we kind of alluded to it before, the supporting cast. All these new characters. I want to see so much more of them, and I don't think I've really had that before in a previous Marvel movie where like you have the heavy hitters like appearing as supporting cast members, like Nick Fury appearing in Captain Marvel. We already know who Nick Fury is. We're gonna have fun with Samuel L. Jackson coming in as Nick Fury. But in Black Widow, these are brand new characters, so they have an uphill battle to really try and earn, I guess, the love of the fandom, because we have all these other characters, all of these heavy hitters, these mainstays, and these are not a lot of people know about these characters. Like I didn't know about Red Guardian going into it, but then as I started seeing him, I'm like, oh yeah, that does make sense. There would be a Russian equivalent of Captain America running around,
and
I want to see more.
What'd you say, Darce?
And there's also a Canadian one and a British one.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Well, the Canadians, I'm waiting for them to introduce the mutants with the whole Alpha Force. Yeah, and then
it'll happen.
Captain Britain, right?
Captain Britain too. Yeah.
He's a mutant too, isn't he? He's a mutant.
I think so.
Yeah, I was ready to read about him in like X-Men stuff. I'll throw this on the table.
Throw it.
Does Black Widow, ScarJo, work better as a leading lady or a support character?
A support for
for
like
example,
in her other movies, right?
Well, yes, and we say we loved her in Winter Soldier. She was support. Iron Man 2, support. Avengers, they're kind of like on equal playing field. I mean, so to speak. But this is her leading film. This is her leading role. Do you think the character works better as a supportive character, or do you think she handled her own as the lead in this film from a performance standpoint and from a character standpoint?
I think more of a performance standpoint that she did pretty well. She did great with the choreography scenes. She did great, like being that espionage spy that also has like a kick of humor in there. I think she did a great job with the performance. Character-wise, I don't want to blame her on that. That might not be a decision.
Oh, it's definitely not her fault. No.
To write that character like that, or to even write the plot to be, in that time frame, or with, that type of stuff. Did she maybe try to push more for I guess like a female focused storyline and female focused, you know, lead and stuff. Maybe she pushed a little bit more, kind of like Carol Danvers did, what's her name, Brie Larson did for Miss Marvel. But I think like performance, I think she did pretty well. Like I said, I loved her chemistry with Florence Pugh. I loved it. I thought it was great. And I think it really kind of does come down to the character, like you guys are saying. Like maybe the character's story isn't as intriguing because she is a human spy and not necessarily super soldier or mutant or god or whatever.
Even though she does feats that question whether she is a super, at least in this movie.
I was the whole time. She fell 4 stories and landed on her feet like a cat. And I'm like, are you sure? Did you not? Something's wrong here. But yeah, no, I think we're hitting it on the head where it's her performance as an actress. ScarJo did a great job. Character-wise, could have been beefier. You know, we could have had a little bit more heart from the character or a little bit more story from the character than what was given.
Yeah, I think what happened was Florence Pugh was Scarlett in all the other films. So Scarlett would show up and have these really wonderful scenes and have good chemistry with whoever she was working with, whether that was with Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man 2, whether that was with Chris Evans in Winter Soldier. So she always had these like little moments where I just said like she had a whole scene that was iconic, like period. And I think Florence took that role in this specific film that we kind of like, because I was super focused on, okay, all these new characters that I'm being introduced to that are really funny, and that are also having like these moments to which they're getting to shine, that she almost kind of was in the background, which I don't know if that's just a product of like trying to move the whole cinematic universe forward and passing on that torch, but also trying to give her this send-off. But I think it's not that the character can't work on her own. It's just that she's usually had these small pockets to shine that now, okay, the focus is just on you. And I don't know if they gave her enough to shine compared to some of her past outings.
Right. I feel like she was kind of in that same mindset of being used to being a supporting role for a lot of these characters, just because some of the best moments we've seen with ScarJo as Black Widow has been in supporting roles. You know, we've been saying it like in Endgame, in Winter Soldier. I feel like, you know, you have her in this solo movie that is about her. This is like her final send-off, at least with her as Black Widow. We might see her in some flashback or some cameos in the future, but this is it for the foreseeable future. I feel like if you take away the supporting cast, you know, like your Yelena, your Red Guardian, you take all that away and you leave ScarJo by herself in this movie, I don't know. I'm not really convinced that she's like a strong lead just for what, because the supporting cast was so good. I felt like all of them together kind of just, it's in the name. They supported each other, you know? They had great chemistry. I love the new characters. I love Natasha's back and forth with Yelena. Hilarious. Some of the most funny moments in the entire movie. But yeah, I feel like at least how the Marvel Cinematic Universe built her up and the writing that was put into the movies where she was a supporting character, I think she was better as a supporting character. Those movies were just really good. And that's nothing on, like, you know, ScarJo's fault. That's just a victim of the writer's room. We're just now getting a solo movie with Black Widow in 2021 when she made her debut in
2010.
Long overdue. Maybe if we got this earlier on, I might be singing a different tune, like, oh yeah, that was her first outing and her character just kept improving as we went along. But I don't know, I kind of like her supporting roles a lot better.
You know, now that we're all talking about it, I don't think I had a wow moment from like, there's Black Widow. I don't think there was like a, you know, like a chair, break out the chair, beat up the dude moment. There was no
you have those moments with other characters?
No, I'm saying she has a moment.
Oh, okay.
In every one of her films. I mean, hate to say it, even in Endgame, her wow moment was her hitting the hitting the bottom of the thing to get the soul stone. That was a wow moment for me. That's mean. That's mean. However,
mean.
But, I mean, it is a wow moment, you know.
It is a wow moment,
It
and
is.
I don't think
we were like, that's a good point, because like a lot of these like wow moments that could have been wow moments were kind of overshadowed by some of these supporting characters, like her choosing to have like a bloody nose to not get like the scent of the pheromone. Like that wasn't really her doing, that was Melina telling her what to do, or Florence Pugh was doing something else to kind of help her out. So like she didn't really have like a solo wow moment.
just a really cool Black Widow thing. A cool thing.
Yeah.
That is true, because I can like Iron Man 2, the hallway scene.
The hallway scene.
As much as I hate that movie, I remember that hallway scene.
So
That
good.
hallway scene, is one of the best scenes. Yes.
And then Avengers, her introduction in the Avengers, her introduction in Winter Soldier 2, like the fight beneath the ship.
Mhm.
But also the ending with the mask. Well, so you're right. Now kind of reflecting back, that's something I didn't think about, was like, oh, she did have those like moments where you're just like, oh, she did the thing. Yeah, I don't know if I felt it as much here. I think I got that with some of the other characters, or just as a whole. But yeah, no, that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Your wow moment wasn't her skydiving thousands of feet in the air.
Well, yeah, that's the part of the movie where I probably had more criticism, so I would say no.
You know what's crazy is that Deadpool even made fun of it, and like Marvel's like, let's do it again. Like
They did make fun of it.
I mean, speaking of that, the superhero landing. I love that.
funny that they brought that up.
That's hilarious. That was hilarious.
Because that
was
goes
great.
back, and like she's done that in practically, I think, at least once in every single movie.
She said, as if somebody's always watching you.
You're a poser. That's what you do.
So can we talk about Florence? Since we
Yes.
brought
Talk
this
about
up?
Florence.
Yes.
Look, we stan Florence in this household, okay? We
stand her over here.
Capital S stan.
Yes.
Okay? Y'all go watch her movies. I'm plugging all of them. Midsommar.
Midsommar.
Little Women.
I've only seen Little Women. I need to see Midsommar.
I
Watch
haven't
it.
seen Midsommar.
I've
I guess
seen-
it's
I've
She's
seen
in the one on
parts of
Netflix
Midsommar.
with the Scottish night people.
Scottish.
Oh, I didn't know she was on Netflix.
Yeah, she is with Chris Pine. She's his wife in the movie.
Oh no, did not know that.
She's in that. Go watch it. Go watch her. She's great. So talented. Anyway.
Yeah, I think she was probably the best part of the film. Maybe I really enjoyed watching her the most.
Actually, we took a poll on this on Instagram. I'm just gonna check it real quick and see what people thought. And if you're not following us on Instagram, please follow us. Partake in our polls. Have fun. Tell us what you guys liked about some of our upcoming podcast channels. Shameless plug that I'm putting in there.
At the
But-
Yonkō Table.
At
She's
the
in Fighting with My Family. I was thinking of her.
Oh, she's in
Watch-
Fighting with My Family.
Yeah, she's the main
Oh,
character.
that's right. She
The
is.
wrestling movie. The wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did not know she was in that. No, I did not know. I
had
never
to sit
seen
here
it.
and think.
But
Go
we
watch
gotta
her
go.
movies.
we have 14-4 so far that they like Flopo versus ScarJo.
As they should.
Oh.
I mean, again, that's not anything against ScarJo.
No, it's
I
not.
think
It's
it's
not.
They
but
gave
it was a
Yelena
great
the
match.
best Chewy scenes. They gave her a lot to chew.
Mm-hmm.
And Florence is also really great at, like, obviously we saw the humor, but she's really great at just emotion.
Yeah.
Like, in every film that I've seen her in so far, she's really, like, if you need the camera to pan in and show something going on with her face, she got it.
Oh my gosh,
She's
I'm
ready
even
to
just
go.
thinking back at Midsommar, like her emotions that she had to have in that movie, like she can on spot do
Like,
it.
she really can. She can deep dive. And I think I appreciated that they gave her not only, like, the humorous aspects, but also the heavy weight of, like, what it means to be a survivor of this situation, but then also trying to kind of formulate, like, who am I? So yeah, she was a great choice as far as selecting that storyline for this character for these moments. Like, loved her.
how did we all think about Mr. Harbor, the the Russian Red Guardian?
Real quick. In Stranger Things, if anybody watches Stranger Things, they left them in Russia at the end of the season.
Crossover?
Well, he ends up in Russia at the end of season 3, and now he's the Red Guardian in this film. I thought that was pretty funny for Stranger Things fan. Am I the only one? That's okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you, Darce.
It's there.
Oh yeah, Darce, you watch Stranger Things, right? Okay. Either way, that's another character I wanted more from. We saw him doing the super soldier thing a little bit,
Not enough.
Not
enough.
Well, the thing is, I want a little bit more of an explanation of other than like.
How?
Soldier. Like how? Like how?
Right.
I mean, I get it if Bucky, like during Bucky's whole transition and then them making super soldiers like in that camp, maybe like there's a little crossover over there, and like he escaped or something. But I need.
It's just
story.
It's just Cold War, man. Everybody's trying to make a super soldier. Well, that's what I took it as.
It would have been cool to see like a defect then, like they did it, but they didn't do it perfectly right. Like
yeah. I agree with you. That would have been nice to see. How do they differ?
Right.
Right.
Even with Isaiah in Falcon and Winter Soldier, we don't really know how he's different from Cap.
Right.
He's got super strength. We know that. We know Red Guardian has super strength. We don't really know why Erskine, I forget how to say his name. The formula Cap took, we don't really know why that one is the pinnacle,
Right.
Why that one is above all the other formulas that have come after it.
And to be honest, though, even though I did like the Red Guardian, I don't really think that whole prison escape scene was all that necessary.
Well, also,
killing all those prisoners in that.
They didn't die; they were buried.
But still,
buried. Fine.
I feel like that was just like a lot of action that just didn't really need to be a lot of action.
It just wasn't that good either, because I think I told Dr. Jace this. At one point, she's like on the walkway, and the turret is actively shooting at the helicopter at her, and she's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Talking to Yelena up there. I'm like, if that's not plot armor, she should have been shot. Why? That's a giant target. Come on. It just felt, talking about the unrealistic bits. Goodness gracious, she should have been shot dead right there.
I mean,
I think it goes into that espionage bit that we kept alluding to before, because every espionage movie at some point has a prison break scene, to break out that semi-important character that you kind of want on your team. In this case, Red Guardian, and I do agree. It was kind of a miss for me.
It was also weird that they're like, we have to break him out of prison. We're also talking to him through a communication device. And then like within like the first like 10 seconds of getting him out of there, they're like, "Where's the red room?" He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, damn it, this whole plan was
well, that plan was shot.
You couldn't just ask him like through the earpiece, like, "Hey, do you know where the red room is?" And he'd be like,
I guess that's a good point. That's a good point.
Enjoy prison.
I did like the little road trip aspect of like getting the band back together, kind of.
Yeah.
So
right.
I guess it had to happen, just maybe.
Just for something to happen to get them all in the same room together, so we can get those funny moments.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, like, this movie was supposed to come out before Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I think it's kind of interesting to note that this should have been our first foray into other super soldiers outside of Captain America. So you're going in thinking, okay, Captain America, he's the only super soldier for now in the MCU. Then you get introduced to Red Guardian, and you start raising the question, oh, okay, so other countries or other people also tried experimenting with that super soldier serum. And then Falcon and Winter Soldier comes out, and you start seeing the ugly side of, the whole super soldier serum debacle, the whole story with Isaiah and how he was used by the government and basically thrown under the bus afterwards. So it's kind of odd to see that in reverse now, where we got that pretty deep story with Isaiah, and we kind of just got this basic one with Red Guardian, like, oh yeah, he's the Russian super soldier. No backstory yet so far.
Who did he fight?
Okay, so
Cap was on ice.
yes.
And he thinks that he remembers him too because he's asking Natasha, hey, does Steve
Cap ever
like
talk
mention
about
me?
me?
Does Cap ever talk about me? And like he was in prison, so he doesn't know that like all the events that are happening.
How old is he?
There could be that he's not aging fast, could be, but he did in that scene. He said 84, I believe. So yeah, Cap was on ice. So I heard that, and I'm thinking there's other soldiers like Isaiah, who
Maybe it was just Isaiah that he fought.
It could have been Isaiah, but to my knowledge, Isaiah was kicking around the Korean War, which is what, like
In the 80s.
Is it the 80s?
Yeah, Korean War was in the 80s.
All right, so maybe it could have
Vietnam
been
was before that in the 70s.
all right, maybe it could have been Isaiah. That's where my mind goes to, is that it had to have been probably Isaiah, or they're sprinkling this formula around to a lot of different people. And maybe we'll get another story about, the mistreatment of these soldiers and whatnot. But also with time travel, anything is possible now.
You think Red Guardian time traveled?
Do you mean to tell me?
No.
Oh, well, here's the thing. Isaiah is clearly black. And you mean to tell, Cap's traditional helmet, you can see the bottom half. Shouldn't you know that's a black face under there?
Yeah,
Right.
well, that's what I'm saying. He doesn't know what the Captain America now looks like. He only gets the story in prison. He just doesn't know that like Captain America now is the same one from back in the 40s, 20s.
That's a good point too.
That is.
For all
I
this
guess-
time.
The less interesting answer would be he was lying.
and it fits his character. It fits what he's all about. He's a pathological liar.
That's not as fun as time travel.
All right,
but
fine.
I'm just throwing that out there. He could have also just been pulling everything.
Very true. Very true.
That's fair enough.
He did
Fair
play
enough.
like I did like his dorky dad character though. Like especially the fact that he's like my girls and like he's the one who kind of sticked more towards like we are family, right? Like same as Yelena, like she was like, yeah, we were family, and then the other two were like, no, this was a mission. Like we knew what we were getting into.
Right. And I think that kind of, stems from Harbor's like previous roles in like Stranger Things. He plays that father figure for 11, and he is the dorky dad. He doesn't know what he's doing. So I think as that type of father figure, I did like that character aspect of him. And this is me coming from like the last outing I've seen him in fairly recently was Hellboy.
Ooh,
Bad.
I heard it was bad. I heard
Didn't get a chance.
very, very bad.
got beefed up for nothing.
For no reason. So Red Guardian, that's a plus. The next question, the Red Room. Red Guardian, Red Room. What do we think about everything with the Red Room? Do we feel like it was squandered potential? Should they have done a bit more? They should have done a bit more. I'll say it. They should have done a bit more, especially with the Black Widows. There should have been scenes with Natasha maybe showing dominance over who's the true Black Widow, who's the strongest among the crowd. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I will say, we mentioned it a little bit earlier about this being like wanting more from what they gave us, as far as like, okay, movie's over, here's what I want to happen next, or I want to see these people again. I feel like this is the first movie since probably Black Panther where I want these side characters who didn't really get too much to have like their own something. So just like the Dora Milaje, I really want like a full Red Room / Black Widows series or something where we just see like the aftermath of, okay, what these women went through, or them trying to find some of the others, spreading the serum around, like missions, things like that. Like I would love to deep dive a little bit more into that in a series in some kind of product from Marvel, because I think it is really intriguing. And yeah, I'll leave it there.
I think they are indeed sprinkling, because that's a giant like door they just left open.
Mm-hmm.
These agents are free. There's X amount of agents still under control roaming around.
Right.
They got Taskmaster back under the fold. And yeah, then you got Red Guardian and Melina. And Melina's got her whole pig experiments where she's doing equal amount of control, which is a really cool aspect.
That's a good point though that you brought up, because like whenever technology is like introduced into the MCU, they never forget about it. They'll always bring it back somehow. So I think that Melina, like as awesome as she is, like the Swedish mama, you know, like whoever, I think that her technology and her like brain is going to be definitely used for other projects.
Gotta be.
It has to be.
For
And
sure. Yeah.
I think she might also get roped into like unknowingly being part of like the new wave of Hydra, because that's a trend that I'm starting to see. I think that the final scene with Florence Pugh at the gravesite, I'm pretty sure that's Madam Hydra, and so I think that, you know, they're going to start pulling in some strings to kind of get more of that new wave of Hydra coming in, and with this control serum, they might make it even stronger, where you don't have an antidote to get you out of that.
See, I disagree with the Hydra bit. I know who the character is in the comics, I know, but to retread and do Hydra again, I think that's backwards working as far as storytelling moving forward.
You think we're done with Hydra completely?
I think it's genius to like kind of like incept into people's mind, like this is the way that it should be. This is what, and it's all about perspective of what you think is right versus what is morally right or ethically right.
Well, I'm gonna take it from like a storyboard type of point. They already okay, Winter Soldier. Oh, Hydra's infiltrated. All right, and then Hydra's dismantled after Strucker got caught. But of course, there's probably still Hydra running around, but they're in hiding, like the dude in Civil War. And then even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you had that fool Grant Ward. I'm gonna restart Hydra, you know. And I think Hydra's fizzled out as far as from a narrative element. I don't think they're gonna retread. I think she's going for the Dark Avengers. I think that's what she's going for, because she's got U.S. Agent already, and now she's trying to get Yelena. All right, so that's, you know what?
There's another one that she got.
I only know of those two.
I think those were the main two, because she was in Falcon and Winter Soldier, right?
Yeah, and she got U.S. Agent. Yeah,
right.
But she appeared on another one, and I forgot.
No, we haven't seen her. Well, but we got 2-6. We got 2-6.
Right.
We got 2-6 of the OG team.
It's true.
If she's at this rate, rolling like she is, I can predict maybe a Red Hulk coming up in the She-Hulk. She might try to do that. White Vision is still flying around. You know, who knows what he's up to, trying to figure out what this Theseus ship is and whatnot. A lot could be done with that character for sure. I hope they don't just do, we're restarting Hydra. I hope. Good of Windhead, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, I would have liked to see more from all the other Black Widows, and I would like to see them in the future. I really enjoyed that first scene where they're trying to take out Natasha and Yelena. I thought that was a really well done scene. I would like to see more of that type of stuff if they bring them back.
We needed more. I mean, at the very least, we're getting Yelena back, and hopefully more of Melina as well. I felt like we kind of touched on her character a little bit. We didn't really go too deep into it, but yeah, again, supporting cast, I really loved everyone here. I love the little pig experiment stuff that she was doing. Like it showed how detached she was to see like how messed up she was going in on those experiments, because we have that scene where like she shuts down the respiratory system of that one pig, and Natasha's like saying, yo, like, what are you doing? It's just like it hasn't been breathing, and she's like, oh yeah, the oxygen from its brain can be cut off for like 2 minutes or something like that. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's a long time. But I mean, I want to see more, because I refuse to believe that's all Melina has been doing these past like 20, 30 years. You know, there has to be some other technology she's been working on. I feel like we are going to see more of that in the future. I don't know what you guys thought about Melina. Like if I was going to rank everyone in terms of who I like the most from the supporting, definitely Yelena, the very top, then Red Guardian, and Melina at the bottom. I still liked her, but Yelena and Red Guardian kind of stole it for me in terms of who was the best between the three of them.
She was like the Dr. Zoloff of this movie. Is that her name? Dr.
Zola. Yeah.
I feel like, you know, she was like the mastermind behind some of it, but she's not necessarily evil. She's just
doing her job.
She has to give it to whoever's in charge. Kind of like what's her name? Poison face gas woman from Wonder Woman.
Oh, that forgettable villain. Madam Mask.
Madam. Yeah,
forgettable.
But I think they might be twisting her as well. If she ever comes back, Melina, if she ever comes back with Florence, they might be like, she's the one who killed your daughter. And it's like, now I must do something, you know?
Very much could.
She could, yeah. I mean, I refuse to believe. I mean, we know we're at least getting Florence in the Hawkeye TV series. Maybe some cameos from the other family too. Who knows? Hey, I'm more than welcome to have some of that. Some more of those characters reappear in future Marvel properties for sure. But I guess the next topic I want to get into, the action. What did you guys think about it? Because this is one of those Marvel movies where, aside from Red Guardian, there's no superpowers, right? It's a very grounded espionage type of film where the main point that you're supposed to be sucked into and during the action scenes is the hand-to-hand combat. And for me, I don't know. There were some scenes that I thought were going in the right direction, and then other ones I'm like, you could have done this a little bit longer or a little bit better. Like when Taskmaster appeared initially in front of Natasha, I thought that scene was kind of cool. It was starting to get really awesome, and then it just ends.
Yeah, it was like a tease. Like
it was a tease, and I was like, okay, that was the introduction.
For more to come. There's more to come.
More never came. I mean, we got more fights later, but I don't know, man. Like it kind of goes back to what Grandmaster was saying. We've had these grounded movies before in like Winter Soldier, and I mean mostly the Captain America movies, but like I feel like they were done better in there. The hand-to-hand combat scenes, like I really enjoyed that elevator scene with Cap.
Oh yeah,
that's all hand-to-hand. I love it. But yeah, like Taskmaster, I liked when he appeared because I felt like his hits were real. Her hits were really landing, and I felt the crunch behind it. I'm like, oh damn, she hits hard. Jesus Christ. So yeah, like what did you guys think about the action? Was it kind of subpar? Did you want it to meet more of that, you know, Winter Soldier choreography? What did you think?
I'm not gonna knock the director because directors have proven if you come from one type of genre that you can make the transition to action. So I'm not going to knock the director.
Who was the director again?
Kate Shortland. And I was looking up some of her credits. Not really big on the action, which is fine because the Russo brothers proved that you can come from a comedy background and kill it. So I'm not going to knock her, but I will say, yeah, a lot of the shots were like, it wasn't as fluid. We weren't seeing much fluidity in the choreos, a lot of jump cuts and whatnot. And that takes away from the groundedness of just being able to see that natural prowess when it comes to the hand-to-hand. So, yes, we keep referencing Winter Soldier, but Winter Soldier probably really upped the ante when it came to the hand-to-hand stuff. Like that Bucky knife choreo is flawless. Flawless. And then, you know, with Taskmaster, you're right. We didn't really get another one-on-one with Natasha and Taskmaster, except when they're falling from the sky. And from there, you lose the reality bit of the realism to it.
Right.
I would have liked to have seen another 1v1. But also I would have liked to seen her take on a bunch of Black Widows. Stop feeling sorry. We know, they're under control. Just kick them in the head. Like you punched Hawkeye to make him come out of his mind control. Right. Punch these girls. Come on. And then say sorry. So the action was good. I don't think it was the spectacle, or it wasn't unique enough to really make me like again a wow.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, my two things are, one, I am begging Hollywood to follow the John Wick formula. Like, leave the camera alone.
Yeah.
Stop. I cannot, the cuts, just stop it and let them do their job. The stunt people, the fight choreographers, the actors even, they are professionals. They know what they're doing, and just allow the camera to see the work be done. I think John Wick does a wonderful job of just allowing you to see the action happen rather than cut. This is not the worst I've ever seen in terms of cutting, but it's just Hollywood, please, with the action sequences, we want to see them happen, especially when they're hand-to-hand combat, things like that. Yeah. My second thing is, I would agree. I think it shined the most when it was like that hand-to-hand, or when it was something like, for me, like brutality, like that, just seeing whether it was the scene between Yelena and Natasha for the first time in the apartment, them versus the widows that are coming after them. I think that's where it really shined. It's when you got the really big set pieces where I was like, oh, okay, like I'm perfectly fine with her being human, with them being human in this, and not having like some big super soldier come in, or them not being people from space or having these superpowers. Like, I'm fine with that, but also you do have to suspend a little disbelief when people are just falling out of the air. So I think where it started to lose me a little bit were the big spectacle pieces, when it was more intimate and you had one person versus one person, or two people versus a few people, is where it really shined the most for me.
So I think when I was watching this, there's just something that kept on like popping in my head, and I'm like, make this make sense. Like, I have no idea how she's falling 4.5 stories off of a pillar, and she like bumps her head twice, and then she's on her feet, and I'm like, bitch, how? Like, I don't. And there was like the fight scene with like we were talking about, the closeness of the fight scene, like in the apartment. That was cool. Did she get thrown around like way too much? Yeah, I think so. I think she like went through one too many like doors or windows. But like it seemed like every other scene, like she was getting thrown around like a rag doll. And I'm like, man, this poor human woman, like I can't believe that like she's surviving all of this, and like not even like limping away or like coughing up blood or whatever. Like she's just like, okay, I'm all good. And then like she just like goes back into like
walks off.
And then she, like falls out of a floating spaceship and then like lands perfectly on a solar panel. I don't know. This was all a little too much. And one thing that I gave a lot of credit to Marvel for is that they made a lot of their fight scenes very realistic, and because they explained them how. They would either explain like, okay, super soldier, or okay, like technology of something, like Captain America's shield comes back. Okay, he has a magnet thing on his wrist. Okay, cool. Like different things like that of breaking physics and then like kind of going back and like making it make sense. I always give Marvel huge credits for it. She is a spy. She's not a soldier. Like she is not like, it was just a little disbelieving to see some of those like heavy hits. Now the fight, those scenes were pretty cool. Like I gotta give it to you, but sometimes I did take it a little too far, and I'm like, oh my God, like how? Unless like they had like a Wanted where like they put her in a pool of white blood cells or something. Like I needed some sort of explanation, because this was a lot.
Yeah, she should have looked, raggedy by the end. It reminds me of, I don't know if y'all have seen Atomic Blonde, but after the fight in the stairwell, she looked janky. Okay,
she was done.
She needed to go to hospital immediately. Like she looked like she was in a fight. And that felt realistic to me, like, because she's human, she's a spy, similar to Natasha. So she should have looked like wrecked by the end, like with everything that she'd gone through, or felt some type of, like you talked about when she fell off and she like bumped into all these things and she got up, okay, time to keep going. And I'm like, no, girl, you should be limping. We got blood insert, you know, and I get it. They're Marvel. They are kind of family oriented in terms of the audience, but she should have looked a mess by the end. And she was actually looking pretty damn good. So I need a little bit of that, but just.
I'm telling you, super soldier serum, it's the only thing.
No.
She had to. That's the only.
I don't know.
She felt so, like, there were so many times where I was like, dude, she better have at least blood coming out of her mouth. Just something. Walk away unscathed, just completely.
Even when she got rocked in the face that a couple of times.
Yes.
She's like, you don't think I could take a hit? You could take a hit, but you're still supposed to bleed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be a mess. Because Charlize Theron looked, yeah. Okay, after that stairwell scene, she limping in a pool, like she got into a tub of like ice, like she looked a mess. Like, I was just fighting for my life. And
they did try to say that she was human. Remember, she took off her shirt in front of Yelena, and she had all the bruises. But she's just kind of walking it off. No big deal. But
that's like after that fight. But then like, that wasn't as bad as like all the other fights in the rest of the movie, or like all of the.
Well, even when he goes and blows up the truck and the truck flips, and they land in the subway.
Yes.
And they just walk out, and then
walk out. Nothing. No limps. No sprains.
It was like, you know what? Funny enough, that scene, she told Yelena right before it blew up. She said, "Put your seatbelt on." That's our big takeaway from that scene. Put your seatbelt on, you walk away unscathed, or, just be able to limp and get up into a ventilation, which I don't know how they got up there.
And then also, when she was on the little helicarrier thing, she was like, the Black Widows surrounded her and were like beating the shit out of her.
Ground pounding, gangbanging.
Pounding. That's at least a couple fractured ribs, some internal bleeding.
I'm just saying, Natasha, you be looking a little too good after all this.
These aren't just random muggers. These are Black Widows. They're trying to hurt. They're going to hurt when they hit you. So I don't know. Whatever. It's done. It's done. The movie is done. So I guess that kind of leads us into like our final thoughts. Despite everything we just got through done talking about, how do we rank this with all the other Marvel movies? I think DoctaReeka, you even mentioned earlier, this was like your number 12.
Yeah, it's like right in the middle for me.
Okay. I need to start rewatching some of the older Marvel movies and start making my own list. I'm going off of like pure memory from when they were initially released. But like, if I were to rank Black Widow, I want to say I'm kind of in the same ballpark. It's still for me kind of just treaded that same Marvel formula that we've been talking about, and the choreography, but still supporting cast, really liked it. To me, that was the best part of the movie. These new characters, I want to see more of them, and hopefully we will get more of them. But I'm actually curious about you two. How would you rank this movie on your list of Marvels?
You want to go ahead?
Whichever one.
All right, I'll go first. So both Grandmaster and I, we created our Marvel list because friends were asking like, oh, like, what is your favorite movie? And like, do you have like a list? And I'm like, please hold, we have to pull it out of our notes. So we already have this like already ready.
It's an ongoing, yes.
I have mine too.
So for mine, I put it as number 15 out of 24, right above Captain Marvel. Just because there's some other movies, on that list that like I gave a little bit more credit to for pop cultural references, but it was a great movie. I thought it was good. I shouldn't say great. It was good. It was a good movie. If we're gonna do the ratings, I'll wait till we do the rating scale. Go ahead, Grandmaster.
All right, now I'm going last because I feel, as far as a numbered ranked list goes, and y'all have it like DoctaReeka, you said like number 12, and Darce, you just said.
Yes, I have Letterboxd.
The proof.
See, that's a nice thing right there. And Darce, what'd you say? 15?
15.
See, now again, when I make these lists, I go off of pure enjoyment. Did I enjoy it? And was I like satisfied? As in, am I saying there should have been more of this? And with this film, I found myself saying I wanted more, a lot more than what was given. And also in my list, I don't know if you two have done this, my list does include WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. I just kind of count it as a whole.
Yeah, mine doesn't have it, so it would, I guess, technically be 17.
Yeah,
I didn't have it either.
I just want to be like semi-fair to those. I don't want to do a whole series list because, I mean, the series, you know, whatever. There's factions of series, you know, the Freeform, the Netflix, and now the Disney Plus, and the ABC and whatnot. Either way, I have it pretty low. It's at 21.
Out of how many?
Out of 26. And that's including WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier.
What's at the
Now,
bottom?
So then you're missing one.
No, I'm not missing.
Because I have
Loki.
25 and I don't have those two movies.
Loki's not on here
I don't have
because
Loki either.
you got both Spider-Mans on there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got everything.
Why do you have It doesn't matter.
Right.
The numbers.
There's
It does.
26. There's 26 films, right? I mean,
There's 24
26
films.
Well, 24 films, yes,
And
and
then
then I
this
have
is the
2
25th
series
one.
on here. I have 2 series on here.
Okay, then 26.
Yeah,
The
WandaVision.
point is, it's fairly low on your on your rank.
It's in my lower tier. It is indeed in my lower tier.
Wait, Erica, do you have Incredible Hulk on yours?
Yes.
Sorry,
Or
Why
Are you
would you not have Incredible
Yeah.
Hulk?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how I have 25.
we will discuss.
Why do you have
after
Spider-Man
the
3 on
recording.
your list?
Shut up. No one has Spider-Man 3. Either way, again, as we talked about it, this film it's not more like, oh, I want more in the sequel. This film, I figured, will be probably the quintessential Black Widow film. And I wanted more, and they did not deliver. So therefore, it is at a 21. Now, I will say, I will rework this list. It was met, not because it was met with heavy criticism, but I'm looking at some of these rankings, and maybe I have some things too high. Maybe I have some things too low. I will give it another look because a lot of people don't like the fact that I put Avengers as number 2, as groundbreaking as a film that is. Everybody's like, whatever.
We need to have a list conversation later.
We could do a whole podcast episode.
Probably.
We
Okay.
do.
You know, just do an average of where these films rank, and then that'll be our podcast
I could do
list.
some statistics.
Yes, I like statistics too. We should dabble in this
Do
one.
it. Let's do it one day.
Yes,
Did I freeze?
Oh, you're frozen.
it's okay. Your voice is lovely enough.
Yes.
All right, so
In that
rating
freeze frame.
scales on Black Widow, I would give it a B. And
Okay.
I'm not gonna do out of 5. I'm just gonna go classic rating scale. I'll give it a solid B, B minus B.
All right, a B.
All right. I usually go on the number scale, which I mean you could interchange with the letter one as well. It's the same thing. But I would give it from 1 to 10, 7 to 7.5 at its best. It was good. Like to me, that score is not bad.
It's not.
It's enjoyable. It met the expectations I expected, and it was fun watching the movie. Could it have been better? Yes. We've been here discussing it for the past hour or so. But yeah, I would say a solid like 7.5. Enjoyable movie that could have been better in many other areas.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning. I don't want to give it a 6. To me, a 6 is low. I don't think Jalen, Rose the Crafter wanted us to state this, but he gave it a 6. In his opinion, a 6 is not that low. In my opinion, a 6 is a D. I don't think this film was a D. I think it was a solid 7, solid C. It gives you some good stuff, gives you some not so great, and would I watch again? I would watch it again. And that I feel that's what it really comes down to. Like, I haven't seen Thor: The Dark World in I don't know how long. And that's at the bottom of my list. So I'll let that speak for itself. But if the rewatchability, if it's rewatchable, that means I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this enough to rewatch it.
Fair.
Okay. DrReeka?
It disappeared. I don't know what happened with my internet. I do like a 5-star ranking because that's how it is on Letterboxd, which is what I use. So I think I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, which is like probably one of my most common scores for like Marvel in general. So like I said, I consider it to be in the middle of the pack. There's a lot I really enjoyed. Some I want it more from, but it's something like Hoop just said. I can watch it again. I can enjoy it.
Fair enough. All right. That's our thoughts on Black Widow. Let us know yours in the comments below and just tell us in general what you thought about the movie. Did it meet your expectations? Do we want to see more of all of these new characters that they're going to introduce in upcoming shows like Hawkeye, and what else do we have? We have She-Hulk.
Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk,
What if?
Moon Knight.
What if? That's right.
All of them.
Yeah, you could throw these Black Widows into any of those shows. I'm sure they can make it work.
Hey, I'm all for it. These new characters, they're making their stand in the MCU, and I'm all for it. So, all right. Don't forget, share this episode around if you enjoyed it, everyone. Leave a like, tell us your thoughts. What was your favorite moment in the movie? Did it not meet your expectations, or was this one of your, more favorable Marvel movies that have come out in recent years? And yeah, share around, let us know your thoughts. Follow us as well at Yonkō Table on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And yeah, I would say that wraps us up. I am DrJaceAttorney, GrandMasterHoop, DoctaReeka and Darce signing off. Take care, everyone.